I would put on a brave face, a mask to hide the battle in my head and the reality I was living in. A dark time in my life. I was haunted by a person who convinced me I should not show my weaknesses to others. I believed it. I ended up dealing with a deep loneliness, so disconnected from the world and the people who loved me. I would embellish the outside to mask the pain I was enduring. Bottling it up inside manifested itself as an intense anxiety on the outside.
David forgets he is ill, who I am, where we are. But when I tell him things, he knows he can trust me. It's hard to explain. David, what is on your mind? Most of the time he would turn the question back to me or the other person asking. He still cares a lot. He was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and epilepsy 5 years ago. He used to have a highly functioning brain with a higher IQ than average, and emotional intelligence too. He blew people's minds. Well, mine often. Rachel, David's soulmate and wife.
I question myself a lot and don't believe in my abilities, and it kind of puts me in a personal jail. Imposter syndrome is something I've been struggling with for that very reason. When I achieve things, I often have this fear that maybe I didn't deserve it, and someone might find out and turn around and say there has been a mistake.
I see myself as a colourful person. I have a future in front of me. Being labelled as disabled doesn't mean that he's disabled. He's also can able to do things that able-bodied can do as well. After my surgery, I lost my friend, I lost my job. I definitely take it for granted that health is there. Not always the case, yeah.
It's like they're two very different people within me, but I'm as much one as I'm the other. One part of me wants to be free and detached and not to exist really, to be invisible in the world and free from responsibility. The other half wants stability. There's blue in the image because I think it's the most beautiful color. It's quite a sad color, but it's a beautiful sadness. It's like the sea and the sky, the two things that you can't see the end of.
I'm not one for labels when talking about mental health issues. They are so unique to an individual, it's difficult to have a specific name for a thing. Depression to one person means something else to another. But I've had issues with that kind of stuff, with anger stuff. I'm a bottler, I bottle things up. I've spent a lot of time sailing, and when you're out on the water, you realize how small and insignificant you are in the world. It's nice to think how little you matter. The scales are the biggest representative symbol. It's weighing up how much pain I would get from doing one thing versus how much I would gain in the long run. It's an uncomfortable set of scales to be holding, and if I could drop them, I would. The dragon represents my escapism. I'm one of those people who plays Dungeons and Dragons and fantasy stuff, rather than having to think about important things in reality. I would be lying if I said I'm a fundamentally happy person. I'm a pessimist and I don't like it.
My picture shows me as confident and strong. That's how I appear to people very often, and therefore they put stuff on me, assuming I can always handle it. On the inside, I'm actually quite fragile and not always put together, which the smudges symbolize, as I can't always stay inside the lines. Sometimes I just need a bit of a break.
I am unsure about this idea of art as a way of expressing what society in most cases produces to the individual. A person who suffers from psychological problems and who finds the chance to get his mind out through art, I find it terrible. It's like making a sculpture out of your trauma, to externalize your suffering, to have your suffering materialized. I find it difficult to put my suffering on a screen and hang it on the wall. That's all.
When I had my son, I went into postpartum psychosis. I thought there was a chip inside of him. I was taking things apart and thought I was being filmed and taped. It was just horrible. I wouldn't talk to anyone about it because I thought they would take him away. That's when I started drinking. was sort of self-medicating. There's something about women that's very empowering, and I'm glad that I'm a woman. My drinking and drug taking took me to a place where it was mainly men. It's like layers to an onion. I feel more ashamed to have depression than saying I am an addict. I can deal with people thinking alcoholics have no willpower, but depression is so not understood. It's not like you feel a bit down. It's a dark hole. People just think you're putting it on or trying to get out of something. But all I can hear in my head is, pull yourself together.
In my drawing, I simply overlined the contours of my face and gave them a grotesque feeling. The idea was that I allow myself to be strange and different, but I also allow myself to be a common and simple person, just like anyone else. I want to share that message with you too. Embrace yourself. Not being terrified with what other people think will only make you happier.
I do have quite a bad drinking habit at the moment, but it's like up and down. A lot like my bipolar is just fluctuates constantly. Being so complacent with just like regular life is kind of boring to me. It's like a wave, like the residual kind of effects of like a manic episode last, and they kind of gravitate into like a neutral. But I've met people that I really care about in that time, even though I thought I wouldn't. I think like depression does that. It makes you think like you can't meet anyone else, you can't do anything.
I realized when I'm in life, everything happened at such a fast pace that I never stopped to think about myself or how I feel. I realized the best thing for me to do is to reset my thoughts. There's no point in planning too far into the future. I should take every day as it comes. The concept of money now seems strange. It reminds me to be kind.
I had depression for a few years before. It's not something that I expected, as it suddenly hit me. One day I just started to feel very tired and wanted to stay in bed for the whole day. I lost all interest in doing things. I stayed in the dark for so long that when I come out of it, I try to be colourful. I never know when the depression will come back to hit me.
The object that most resonates with me is a Rubik's Cube. Every person in my life experiences a different side of me with a different combination of colors. This allows me to connect with anyone, which is what I love most about myself. I can also resonate with the hardness of the Rubik's Cube. I can be very harsh and critical with those around me. I put high expectations on others, expectations I often don't manage to meet myself. It is what I hate most about who I am.
I have an ongoing battle between good decisions and bad ones. I like to experience new things without having a second thought about my actions. In the background are things that people say to me, either to my face or behind my back.
I like to organize things, bring people together and put everyone at ease if I can. I struggle to be alone though. I cannot light up on my own. I cannot not have someone around or not have something planned. My family and friends are my electricity. Without them, I wouldn't have the energy I put in organizing things. Sometimes though, I exaggerate and doing too much causes a short circuit, and I usually realize it when it's too late.
Overthinking is the constant battle between my brain and I. Mind is a funny thing. It makes you anxious by jumping into your past and sometimes make you question actions. We struggle as humans to concentrate on the moment, what's ahead of us, and simply let go of irrelevance. Stop overthinking is something I try to tell myself more often.